I'm so excited to have here with me Jordan Candlish. Jordan is a former accountant turned life purpose coach, podcast host, semi-professional footballer, and founder of State Shifters, a holistic wellness site dedicated to helping people unify mind, body, and soul so they can live with passion and purpose. Jordan left his corporate accounting job in 2017 and moved to Toronto, Canada to work alongside other health and wellness experts, life coaches, and entrepreneurs. He now works with unfulfilled professionals who are looking for more meaning and fulfillment in their lives through his unique form of coaching and mentorship. Jordan, welcome to the Lit Up Lightworker podcast.
It's an absolute pleasure, George. I really appreciate you bringing me on here, and I'm very excited to have a conversation with you. So yeah, thanks so much, man.
And I gotta say, I was really looking forward to our conversation because I have been someone who has worked a full-time job in the corporate sector while eventually transitioning to being self-employed and teaching people about their life purpose as well. So I know this will be a very interesting conversation between the two of us. Now, I want to go to the beginning. I want to start from the beginning. So you trained as an accountant. You got a corporate job. Could you give me the story of what got you to make this shift within you that you went like, okay, it's time for me to quit and do what I love full time?
Yeah, it was a gradual shift, I would say, because when I started my graduate accounting job, coming out of university, I got a job at Deloitte, which is one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. They're actually a consulting firm. And when I started working, obviously it's a very exciting time because you're going into your first full-time job. You've just come out of university. It's sort of like, it's kind of like you're going back to school. I had a graduate cohort with me. It's a very exciting and new transition in life. And it was kind of, I'd just come back from traveling the world. I was on exchange in Canada where I was in Toronto studying, and then I traveled around the US afterwards. So I just come off the back of this amazing trip where I'd been traveling for 6 months and dived straight into my first full-time job. And it was kind of within that first month where I was in the tax department, and I was given, all these exams to start studying for. I was given all my textbooks, literally like school. And given the most boring jobs to do, and I just started to from my excitement level just started to slowly drop, and I would just leave work feeling so drained and tired because my mind was just so unstimulated. I was like, this is not exciting stuff at all. Just lots of listening, lots of trying to learn information I didn't care about. And that kind of began this kind of questioning for me. I was like, I'm really hating this. I was looking around, is anyone else hating this as well? And everyone else, who was around my age was feeling the same way. And I was just like, this can't be it. Does it get any better than this? So kind of a few months went by where I started to, get given better tasks, but it's still tax, man. Tax accounting, it's not that exciting stuff. And that's where I began just thinking, why did I choose this path? Was this my decision, or was I just following what my parents thought I should do? Because your parents just want you to be secure and safe in life. And they said to me, just, get a good job, make lots of money. And that's kind of the essence of life. I was never told to follow my passions or find meaning and purpose and uncover unique gifts. So I began doing that myself. While I was working at Deloitte, I just began this kind of journey of self-discovery to find out what my purpose was, what were my passions. If I wasn't going to work this job, what would I do with my life? And, I started meditating. I started doing a lot of yoga. I started to incorporate, the spiritual component into my life. And when I did that, it really opened up a different dimension to me, a dimension that, I hadn't touched on before. And I started to cultivate feelings of passion, purpose, fulfillment around my workday, so that when I arrived to work, I'd already filled myself up with these elevated emotions, so that people started to notice a shift in my energy. I wasn't complaining anymore. I was like, hey, this is how it is for now, but I'm going to make time around my workday to follow the things that I enjoy doing, which was healthy living, which was exercise, which was, going to yoga classes, playing soccer, semi-pro. And when I started doing these things, man, shifts started happening inside. And Eckhart Tolle was such a big impact on my life. And he always said, your primary purpose in life is to be here, be now, to be present in this moment. This is all of our purpose. Our primary purpose is to be here. your secondary purpose comes from your primary purpose. Once you fulfill your primary purpose, your secondary purpose will come from that. And your secondary purpose is what you do on an external level, what you do for work, what you do as an activity or your hobby. That's your secondary purpose. So once I mastered the primary purpose, which was be present, be here, accept my conditions for what they were, don't complain, things just started opening up. A different dimension to living opened up. And the time came in 2017 where I was about a year and 8 months into my graduate program. I knew the time was right, man. I knew I had reached a stage in my life where I was ready to take a leap of faith and really follow my heart and do what I loved. And I wanted to come out to Toronto and pursue this passion for health and wellness and helping and inspiring others through my podcast and through my content to really go within and reach your potential, because we're all capable of so much more than we think. Yet we just settle for lives of mediocrity because we listen to what other people say, or we buy into the beliefs of society saying, you got to go to university and then work for a corporation. Nah, man, I didn't buy into that. I couldn't accept that. So yeah, now here I am in Toronto. I've been here about 17 months now. It's been a wild ride so far, and I've had just an absolute blast. So yeah, I'm pinching myself every day.
So what I loved about what you shared is that you actually made the shift, because many people feel the shift, but not many people have the courage to do it. So I don't know how the situation is where you grew up, but in Cyprus, for example, there are 3 or maximum 4 occupations someone can do to be seen as worthy in society. One of them is accounting and finance. The other thing is to be an engineer. The other thing is to be a lawyer or a doctor. Anything else, you're done.
There's sort of like that in India as well, isn't it? India's similar. I've spoken to a few Indian friends and they say it's similar. Lawyer, doctor, or engineer. Otherwise, you're a failure.
And interesting, my dad is a chartered accountant. We have a family business. He has like an accounting office that I was expected as well to take over while growing up. So I definitely feel your struggle with regards to that. And however, many people are in this situation where they do what their parents tell them. They follow the tide. They do what's expected of them to get the good job, to get the money, and they feel this struggle, but they don't find the courage to take different action, to go and follow their purpose, to see something different, to even consider what makes them happy. They don't make the connection between their life, their job, and happiness. They just see the job as just something that they have to do without taking into consideration the happiness factor. What was it that you feel in you that caused you to make the shift that other people don't make?
It was a great quote. I can't remember who made the quote, but it really stuck with me. And it says, it's that which you do not hate, you'll eventually tolerate. And for me, too many people tolerate their life circumstances.
Could you repeat that, because it just got cut a little bit?
It goes, that which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate. So for me, I hated the fact that I was not reaching my full potential. I was at work. I knew I was capable of so much more than what I was doing, and I hated that. My biggest fear is not reaching my potential in life. And if you don't hate the fact that you aren't waking up every day and giving absolute everything and loving what you do and kind of like impacting people, then you're gonna tolerate your work. And that's what happens to people. They just tolerate their kind of their mundane living. Go to a desk, 9 to 5, check in, check out, and that's it. They just accept it. I couldn't accept that. I couldn't. So that's where that drive came for me to want to find out why am I here? What is my gift? I know I'm capable of so much more than this, but how am I going to find that and then share that with others through my passions? So yeah, it really came from that, man. You got to have the drive to know you're capable of more and then pursue it.
Yeah,
happened to you as well? Did that happen to you as well? Similar situation?
Oh yeah. So I went. Yeah. I studied so many different things before I decided, and I realized that my life purpose had to do with spirituality. I studied geography for my bachelor's degree. Then I did a business degree in business management, and then I was meant to go into like management consulting and all the consulting services. But thankfully, I was lucky enough to get a job at Hay House in London, which was the best possible corporate job I could take, because that meant I could meditate whenever I wanted to. I could
Oh,
have an
mate.
altar on my desk. So
How
I
good's
did
that?
get a normal 9 to 5 job, but it was at Hay House, which for many people is not really like, I mean, it was work, but I could bring in myself into that. But again,
Correct,
eventually, I loved the work, but I hated the 9 to 5. So for me, the freedom was breaking off from the 9 to 5 structure and getting to set up my own schedule. So, but what was important for me then, and I'm sure it was for you, and I want you to talk to us about it, it was being happy where I was, being happy in an uncomfortable situation, in a not 100% ideal situation, and learning to love all aspects of my work despite not it being 100% of what I wanted to do. So you have a beautiful article on your website all about learning to find fulfillment in your current job, a job that you may not necessarily like, that could be potentially be your outlet to receiving the guidance in following your purpose full time. So could you run us through the shifts in your perspective or the practices that you used while working your soul-crushing corporate job that allowed you to be more upbeat? You mentioned a few in the beginning, but you want to go deeper on that?
For sure, man. And thanks very much for reading that article, because, you know, when I wrote that article, I really wanted to just get this stuff down, because I was so amazed by the shifts that were happening in my life when I started to incorporate some habits and routines and rituals into my day. And, you know, I kind of put them all into this article because I just wanted to share it with people so they can, you know, incorporate the same thing. And basically what I did was, you know, while I was at my accounting job, because I was given such like mundane tasks, like literally just data entry, I was able to kind of listen to podcasts at the same time. So I was listening to, you know, like Tim Ferriss's podcast, I was listening to like the School of Greatness podcast with Lewis Howes, and he was bringing on guests who were successful entrepreneurs, authors, athletes, people who were just like at the top of their game. And I love the questions around, like, you know, what does your morning look like? He would ask these guests, what does your morning look like? And I was just like finding these patterns or these kind of correlations between successful people and fulfilled people and their routines, rituals, and habits. And I just started like plugging and playing, literally taking their habits, putting it into my routine. And the consistent patterns were, you know, meditation. Like they all meditated. You know, every single one of them woke up early and had some sort of mindfulness practice in their day. So I just started doing that before I went to work. I started meditating. I taught myself how to meditate, tried a whole bunch of different guided meditations until I finally found the one that worked for me. I started a theme. I was always into fitness. So exercise and healthy living was I already kind of covered that aspect, but I made some shifts to my diet, which had a massive impact on my energy. And that's such a powerful thing, man. Everything is energy and vibration. So if you can find a way to raise your vibration and bring a different energy to your work, you're going to open up different parts of your mind. You're going to open up more creativity, more inspiration is going to flow through you. This can't happen if you're eating bad food, not exercising, not creating the space mentally through meditation to allow fresh perspectives to come through. Like, to hear your inner voice, to tap into your intuition, you have to get rid of all the blocks, mental blocks, physical blocks, energy blocks that are stopping you from hearing that guidance. And when I did that, when I cleared all those blocks, man, I started to get this guidance. Like these downloads would come to me like, oh, I need to do this. And my kind of, the moment I knew I needed to leave my job actually came to me while traveling in Thailand. I was on holiday with my girlfriend. I was sitting watching an amazing sunset at a beach, and I just knew. I was like, this is, I know I need to leave now. It was just a feeling. And nature for me was such a big teacher, man. I would go out and just sit in nature after work. I would go down to the beach and watch a sunset, and it created so much stillness in my mind that just allowed me to really tap into spiritual wisdom, higher guidance, whatever you want to call it. It's just a combination of all those things, man. Just creating space in my life to allow that kind of inspiration to come through.
It's amazing how we have all the answers around us. It's just a matter of having the willingness to get them. Like even while working, like listening to those podcasts and getting these fresh ideas in your mind, like step by step, opening you up to new practices, to new techniques, to new guidance. that eventually allow you to make this transition. So what you just demonstrated is the step-by-step gradual process through which this transition happened. Because many people expect that, okay, it's going to be like a quantum leap. I'm going to wake up one day and I'm going to have this huge epiphany that, okay, I'm just going to transform my entire life. But what you just told us was, it was a very gradual process of first being willing to listen to podcasts and then listening to episode after episode, trying different practices until you found what works best for you, getting out in nature, and then eventually you have this natural, not epiphany, a natural understanding that it's the next logical step for me to just leave this job. Now, how do we know if the guidance we're receiving comes from our ego or from source?
That's a really good question. I think if you have to like justify something, chances are it's not the right decision. Like if you just know, like the heart knows, but the ego will come in and be like, oh, nah, but what if I don't make enough money? Or what if things don't work out? Or I've got great benefits here. You know, the ego will always get in the way. You intuitively know. You know what I mean? And most people will make excuses why they can't do it. And I intuitively knew for a while. It wasn't until I created that kind of, it was just became a knowing. It was courage. I was building courage essentially, and it got to a point where I built my courage muscle up to a point where I knew I was ready to take that step into the unknown. If you are not ready to make little shifts today into the unknown or get out of your comfort zone, you are not ready to make a big shift, which is leave a job or travel to the other side of the world. For me, start with the little shifts. Get outside of your comfort zone daily. Build the courage muscle, and then you will know. When your courage is so strong, you will know, okay, it actually got to the point where it was literally not a big deal. I was telling people I'm going to quit my job and move to the other side of the world, and it didn't faze me at all. But everyone was like, oh, wow, like, oh, are you excited? Are you nervous? I was like, no, I don't know. I just know this is the right direction. So, yeah, I would say really focus on building courage. And intuitively, you'll always know. And if you have to justify something, chances are your mind, it's not the right thing.
I love it. I think about this as training the ego in a way. Like, well, try this ego step by step. Like, try this shift. Get comfortable in that, and then you try something bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you're like, okay, bye.
Yeah, exactly. Did you do something similar? What did you have to build some courage up before you took a leap of faith?
So basically, I was working the full-time job, 9 to 5, and then I was working my spiritual business, this business, part-time. So I would go to work 9 to 5, I would come home at around 7 p.m., and then work until midnight, and that went on for 3 years. Fulfilling, but exhausting, because it meant that I had no weekends. I spent all my weekends working. I had no friends. I had no social life. It was just work. And then nature was important for me as well, because I went to a retreat in Glastonbury for a few days, and I had a past life regression. And long story short, I came up with the regression, and I had this realization that I kept projecting my happiness in the future. I was like, okay, when I leave my job, I'm going to do this. When I leave my job, I'm going to be happy. When I leave my job, I'll be able to do that. And then I realized I'm able to leave my job. It was a step-by-step process in the sense of I had been working for 3 years. I had built my platform. I had built my audience. I was really ready to make the leap, but something was holding me back. My fear was holding me back. So nature as well helped me come to this realization that it's time for me to go. But even when I made the realization, I took a whole year to make a plan, an exit plan, just because, like you, I'm very analytical, business minded. So I wanted to make sure I had a financial plan in place in case things didn't work out, which is my question to you. Did you do something similar? Did you plan in any ways? What was going on in your head in the time leaving your job? What was the journey for you?
Yeah, like I'm never going to be someone to say to everyone, oh, you should just quit your job and do what you love full time and just, take that leap of faith without having some sort of backing. I mean, if you don't have money in the bank and you quit your job and you have no idea what you're going to do, you're just setting yourself up for stress and anxiety. I had set myself up in terms of I had money saved. You know what I mean? Like had done the necessary financial investment, financial management or planning to know that when I move out to Toronto, I have some money behind me to give myself some time to figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't know what it was yet, but I just wanted to give myself some security to know that I had some time to settle in. I don't have to worry about stressing about money just yet. And that's very important. Like, you have to be sensible about it. So I would say do some necessary, like, a lot of it comes down to finances. If you can manage your finances correctly, like I studied accounting and finance, so this stuff was something that I'd studied for. But if you've never listened to, you never take notice into the finance side of things of your life, then buy a book. Like, to me, Tony Robbins' book, Money Master the Game, is such a great place to start. Like, again, I didn't mention reading. I mentioned podcasts. Like, I read a lot of books. Like, I was a voracious reader, so I went through a shit ton of books, and I got a lot of knowledge from that. And that's what I would say to other people as well. Read books. Like, if you're not good at finance, read finance books. Learn to invest your money. Learn to take care of your basic needs first, so that when you do take a leap of faith, it's not going to be, you're not going to be stressing out or getting anxious, because that's just going to set yourself up for failure. Like, failing to plan is like planning to fail.
I love that you're talking about this, because a common misconception in the spiritual community is that, you're just going to quit your job and the angels will come in and take care of everything. But that's not how it works.
It's
yes,
not.
the universe will show up for you, but we have to show up for ourselves as well. But not many people like to talk about financial planning and like transitioning step by step and making sure you have things in place. So people just quit their jobs, fail, and then realize, okay, I'm a failure, I'm not supposed to do this, and they go back to a soul-draining job. So I love that you mentioned Tony Robbins' book. For me, it was the Wealth Chef book by Ann Wilson, which was all about, because I realized I did a master's degree in business management at the top university in the UK, Imperial College. I'm actually wearing my Imperial College London hoodie right now. But I knew nothing about personal finance. I knew how to manage big corporations and how to do their accounting and management and all that, but nobody taught me anything about how to manage my personal finance. So it wasn't until I read Wealth Chef and another book called Profit First that I was able to learn about budgeting and how to micromanage basically my finances and ensure I had a plan in place that made me feel safe so I could make this transition.
100%.
So very important for people to read books and educate themselves and get really real with their spirituality, because yes, we are spiritual beings, but we're spiritual beings in a physical world. We need to know how to work it.
I'm so glad you've mentioned that and spoken about that, because like you said, a lot of people in this community choose to ignore that fact. Like, business is so important. Like, for me, if you can integrate consciousness and spirituality into the business world, that is where we're going to impact the most change. Like,
yes,
I've seen far too many yogis, spiritual leaders, just with like no money. Like, because I dived into that world for the first 6 to 12 months while I was here. Like, there's so many people in the spiritual community, yet none of them have figured out how to integrate business and spirituality. So some have, and a lot are starting to do that, but this is where the education around business is so important, and we shouldn't ignore that fact, like you said, and like you are doing, which is why this is so important that we talk about this stuff, because if we're going to impact change and create global shifts in consciousness, it's going to require us to understand money and business, because wealth is going to need to shift from the hands of these ego-driven business leaders into the conscious-driven, purpose-driven leaders. And for that to happen, we need to acknowledge that fact, that money is sacred, money is important. So well said.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Because in the spiritual community, we have this perception of money that it's bad, that only evil people make money, and you need to step on other people to make money, because that's what that's what we see in the world.
Correct.
But it's up to us to take this tool that is money and just use it in a conscious way. And the analogy, not the analogy, the way I like to explain this to people is The more money you make, the more you can help others. Because yes, if you're the most spiritual person in the world and you have all the tools in the world, you can't reach the people you want to reach and that will benefit from that if you don't know how to market yourself, if you know if you don't know how to run a business.
So true.
Okay, let's talk about how to find your purpose, because we all talk about purpose, but what if we don't know what our purpose is? What is your process?
Yeah, man, this is a powerful one, because I've spent like a lot of time trying to understand the process behind unlocking someone's purpose. And for me, it's asking the right questions to yourself. And it started for me about getting super clear on what my passions were, acknowledging what I was passionate about, and then actually making an effort to follow curiosities or passions. Like, you can just call them curiosities.
Yes,
a lot of people,
I
don't know what I'm passionate. I don't know what I'm passionate about. People say, oh, I've got like 6 passions. Well, start making time to follow these curiosities and see where it takes you, because purpose comes for me when you can serve someone else through your passions. You are serving something greater than yourself through your unique gifts. And to unlock your unique gifts, you actually have to take time out and follow those curiosities, because you might try a few things and realize, that's not really for me. Like, you know, I went down the path of like following like social media marketing, digital marketing. Like, I enjoyed doing those things, but it wasn't my highest calling. It wasn't my highest purpose. I wanted to coach and work with people and transform lives. So I would say identify what your passions are, follow them, and then find a way to serve someone else. When you get so good at doing a particular task or activity, people will start asking you for help. They go, oh man, can you help me out with this? I can see you're really good at that. Or, you know, you're training really hard at the gym. Can you show me how to do that? You can then serve someone else just by you just doing what you enjoy doing. And all of a sudden you have a reason for doing what you're doing higher than yourself. And that, to me, that's where all the motivation, like, for me, purpose is like unlimited motivation on tap. If you unlock your purpose, you get pulled. You're not pushing through life. You're getting pulled through life. So yeah, follow those curiosities and really explore your passions, because when you start to do that and you love what you do, then you're going to find a higher purpose.
I love that you use the word curiosity, because there is so little weight on it, not much expectation. It's just a matter of just being curious about what you like and what makes you passionate, and just follow that and see how it works. If it doesn't work, then pivot into something else. Again, it's a gradual process of coming to know your life purpose. It's like, in my experience, I've spent my entire life working on spirituality and doing spiritual stuff, but I only realized that was my purpose until after I graduated from my bachelor's degree, and I realized, okay, that is my purpose. I just haven't been following it and haven't been realizing it was my purpose because of like preconceived beliefs that my family taught me about spirituality. So it's a step-by-step process of opening yourself up. Many people have this sense of this pressure to get their purpose right instantly, but it's not like that. It's just a journey of happiness.
That's it. Well, it goes back to what I said, at the start with Eckhart Tolle and primary purpose. Fulfill the primary purpose first. Like, be here,
be present.
Now. Yeah. Once you do that, like, I'm telling you, a different dimension will open up, and you'll start to see things more clearly. You'll see, I want to go down this direction, or I want to go like take this class, or read this book, and you'll just intuitively follow these inclinations. You can only tap into that inner guidance when you fulfill the primary purpose. Be present, meditate, go out into nature, and still quiet the mind. This is primary. This is number one. Primary purpose for everyone. And then secondary purpose is unique for all of us based on our unique gifts.
That comes through being present and connecting to our intuition.
Yes.
Okay, my final question has to do with the friends and the people we have to live when we make this transition, because we become different people. You leave a corporate job working for Deloitte, and then you go and teach people how to find their purpose. Clearly, some people will react. Clearly, you won't get along with certain people, and sometimes people use this as a fear and an obstacle to making this transition. They don't want to lose their friends. So how do you deal with that? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, man, this no one's ever asked me this question, and I'm really glad you did, because it's an inevitable part of the journey. When you take this journey of inner work, and I call it like leveling up. When you raise your vibration, you level up. People are gonna get left behind in your life. It's just, that's just how it is. And you know, like, I had to say no to going out and drinking alcohol on the weekends, not because, you know, I not because I wanted to go out and drink. I just didn't vibe with that stuff anymore. I didn't resonate with going out and getting drunk on weekends and partying. So my friends that did that, I just naturally didn't hang out with them as much anymore, because I realized our friendship was based on that. So the people who are important in your life, the people who are willing to support you and grow with you, will stay in your life. The ones who aren't, unfortunately, they will get left behind, and you can't carry people with you. It's just a simple fact of the matter. And you have to take care of your own personal growth and development first before you can help someone who may not be ready. Because someone has to be ready before you can go, hey man, come meditate, or let's go to yoga. If someone's like, fuck man, I don't want to fucking go to yoga, they're not ready. And that's not your responsibility. You know, we can only help someone if they're ready to be helped. And that was something that I had to learn along the way. And man, like my parents, that was the hardest part for me, was they just didn't understand. They didn't understand.
For all of us.
Everyone, yeah. And that was such a hard thing, you know, telling my dad, you know, oh dad, I'm gonna quit my job and go to Canada and just explore, you know, follow my passions for health and wellness. Because all he saw was, you know, a secure pathway to earning a good salary. I had this amazing job, and he couldn't see it from my perspective, but I saw it from his perspective, and all he wanted was me to be safe and happy. And because I saw it from his perspective, I was able to forgive him for getting angry at me. And now my mum and dad are my biggest supporters, man. And the people in my life who are my biggest supporters are the ones who've realized that, you know, I'm not doing this for me. It's for a higher purpose. You know, this is what I'm living my highest truth. You know, I have absolutely no regrets, and I would have had regrets if I'd have stayed in my corporate job and not followed that desire, not followed my heart. So people are gonna come and go out of your life. It's just a part of the journey, and I've met so many amazing people along the way. So wins and losses along the way, but that's just a part of it, man.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, what you just said in the end, that more people will come in eventually. So all the fear that people have, like, I'm going to lose my friends. Well, as you just said, the friends that really matter are few, and they always stay and follow you because they want to grow with you, and they want to be there and support you no matter what. And then those other friends you get to meet along the way as well. As you change, the universe will must match you up with other like-minded people. Jordan, thank you so much for joining me live for the recording of the Lit Up Lightworker podcast. It's been such a wonderful time chatting with you and getting to learn about your journey. I thought it was just me that made this radical shift from business to spirituality, but I'm so glad you found someone who has done it as well. And I'm sure so many people have benefited from this, watching live, listening to the podcast episode as well, and watching this replay. Thank you so much, and wishing you the most beautiful rest of your day.
Thanks, George.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
See you guys. Thanks for tuning in.